Kelly. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my June wrap-up. It is 2 days before the end of the month. Well, it's June 29th. So tomorrow's the last day of the month, and I'm gotta do my wrap-up early for the first time in like forever because my library books are due back today. And yeah, so I'm gonna have some late fees tomorrow. But anyways, I am in the middle of 2 books, and I read a total of 10 books. And so it's my, as of right now, it's the least amount of books I've read out of the whole year for the month. And so yeah, the first book that I'm currently reading is City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare. This is book 6. This is the conclusion to the Mortal Instruments series. And every time it mentions a certain character, I think of his actual name. But then I got discombobulated last night because another character has the last name of a character that is in this book. I don't know what's going on. I don't. So I'm on chapter 4, page 98, and I am flying through this book. I started reading this book yesterday, and I got that much into it in an hour last night. So I'm flying through it when I sit down to read it. I'm loving it. I'm just ready for the big battle, and my favorite villain, Sebastian. I like Sebastian, so I want to see more of him. And so yes, I'm just ready to get to the Bane Chronicles and Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. So yes. And then the second book that I'm currently reading, I'm reading it out loud to my kids. I'm hoping to finish it tomorrow, but I'm not going to be able to finish reading it out loud tomorrow. So when we stop at our stopping point tomorrow, I'm just going to continue reading on ahead by myself so I can finish this. And that is Willow of the Wood by Robert Beatty. This is a middle grade fantasy. It's about Faerun. And Willow, she's a Faerun girl who lives in a forest, and she is the last of her kind. She can blend in with the trees and the ground and the rocks to camouflage herself. And the rest of her clan, they're shunning the old ways in the language, and they're like killing the animals when they're supposed to be taking care of the animals and being peaceful with the animals, and I'm just loving it. I live in a forest. I live in a heavily wooded area, so I am always seeing foxes and possums and deer and squirrels, birds, and rabbits, jackrabbits, quail. I'm just snakes. I'm just seeing all animals, so I'm obsessed with animals. And reading this, my kids, they see these animals every morning outside their window or on our game cameras or in our security cameras, and they are just loving this book. But this book is also very traumatizing. I was talking to my husband about it the other night, how the girls were upset that the trees were getting cut down because the trees were being murdered, and when they were getting cut down, the trees were screaming, and how one tree landed on this black panther on its back, and that it had its leg caught in a bear trap also. And my husband was like, "Are you serious? You're reading this to our children? It's a middle grade? That's twisted and dark." And I was like, it's realistic. And so I'm on chapter 45. I got the sequel, or the companion to this, Willow of Dark Hollow. It's a standalone, which I wish I would have known that going in, because I would have read that one first and then read this one, so I wouldn't have been rushed. But I'm really loving this. Highly recommend it. I love the wolves and then the bears. Oh I can't wait to finish this. I'm gonna have to buy my own copy because this is just a beautiful story, and I absolutely recommend it to all ages. And yeah. So the first two books that I finished at the beginning of the month, I don't have with me, but it is Rebel in the Library of Ever by Zeno Alexander, the sequel to The Library of Ever. And I talked about this in a vlog last month when I was reading The Library of Ever, and so I will link that vlog down below. But it's about a little girl. She goes to the library one day, and she goes into the secret portal in the library, and it becomes a big library with everything imaginable in the world, all in knowledge. And then she has to fight these people in bowler hats who's wanting to take away the knowledge. So yes, the second book was my favorite. I ended up giving it a 3, and it's just got one main quest, and that's to find the largest number in the world. You would think that the largest number is infinity. No. And there was a sexist quote in this book, and I don't really feel that well about there being sexism in a middle grade book. And it was one of the evil guys talking to the main evil honcho, and he was like, "She's lying. You know how girls are. They always lie." And I was just like, wait a minute. No. And my girls, they are very in tune with what's going on today. And my oldest, she got so pissed that she refused to listen to the rest of the book until I actually talked to her and told her that this is what happens in the world. And she got her first taste of sexism in a book, and she was not happy about it. So am I a little upset that it upset my daughter? A little bit. But am I happy that it's eye-opening in a way? Yes. Because she's going to experience that no matter what. The second book that I don't have, it's The List of Things That Will Not Change by Rebecca Steed. I absolutely love this book. It's about a little girl. Her parents are getting divorced, and they give her this green notebook, and at the top of the first page it says, "A list of things that will not change. Your mom still loves you, and your dad still loves you." Her parents end up getting divorced because her dad has come out as gay. He's always been gay, and the story is about her living through the divorce and learning, or trying to get ready for her dad's new wedding to his boyfriend Jesse. And she has to deal with homophobic classmates. Her dad's boyfriend Jesse, he comes into her classroom one day and shows the class how to shuck oysters, and she makes the comment, not knowing that there's going to be a homophobic laugh with her classmates. She goes, "This is my dad's fiance, Jesse." And then the girl that she sits by every day at lunch and doesn't like, she starts going, and Jesse, he just plays it off until he opens an oyster, eats it, and it's just the kid. They live in New York, so the oysters are from the Hudson River, and so it's all getting them to try new things. And then Jesse's brother, who's a very homophobic dude, he comes after I forget the girl's name. She invites him to the wedding after her dad and Jesse refuse to invite him. She ends up inviting the uncle, and the uncle, he plays and pretends that he's alright with it, that he's coming around to terms, and then at the wedding he blows up. And so yeah, it has one of my favorite quotes. I will have to find it, but I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It had the best advice about love and acceptance and forgiveness, and then the brother was a huge dick. But yeah, the quote that I like, and I can't tell you much about the scene because it would be a huge spoiler, but it's, Angus asked me once if I thought my dad turned gay when he choked on an orange, but Dad said no, that being gay had been a part of who he was from the beginning of his life. The orange just showed him how short life could be. And so, when that's how her dad and Jesse met. Her dad was choking on an orange, and so Jesse saved him, and then they got together. So, yes. So, no, her dad knew that he was gay all along, and then the orange just showed him how short life could be. That you could choke and die. So, yes, really enjoyed it. I'm going to have to buy my own copy so my girls can read it, and yeah, so it was fantastic. The next two books I read were for the Buzzword Reading Challenge for June. The buzzword was a name or a title, and the books I read were The Carrie Diaries by Candace Bushnell and Queen of Hearts by Colleen Oakes. So, the first one, Carrie Diaries, I ended up giving a 3 out of 5. I love Sex and the City. I binged the whole series when my youngest daughter was a newborn because I had to keep a very close eye on her, and she was in the hospital for the first 2 weeks of her life. And so when my husband was at work and I was at home with my oldest two, I would be sitting in front of the TV and keeping them entertained, especially during nap time. Thank you, E-Channel, for having 4 episodes a day from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So that's how I watched them. But yeah, so, and then this book got made into a CW series for 2 seasons. I ended up watching the first season, and then the second season I didn't get into. So this is about a young teenage Carrie, and it's about her senior year in high school and her nemesis Donna LaDonna. Like, she couldn't come up with a more interesting name. But I remember the actors' faces for each character, and then Teen Carrie and Sex and the City Carrie, totally different. They're not the same person. I don't know how Carrie could go from driving in this to not knowing how to drive in Sex and the City. Cooking in this and not cooking at all in Sex and the City. So, this is about Teen Carrie. She's trying to get into this prestigious, or this very top-notch writing course, and she keeps getting rejected. So she goes to the school yearbook, and she becomes this alter ego to talk about the wrongs of teenage lives and high school, and I ended up giving it a 3 because it was mainly about her pining over Sebastian Kidd. Austin Butler. That's Sebastian Kidd, Austin Butler, same thing. And yeah, so I just kept picturing the show the entire time, which made it a little bit more enjoyable. The end was very, like, get to the point. And then Samantha Jones, Donna LaDonna's cousin, like, where did that come from? I don't know. It doesn't make sense whatsoever, because Donna LaDonna is Carrie's nemesis, but Samantha Jones is Carrie Bradshaw's best friend. And yeah, so I ended up giving this a 3. The slut shaming was too much, and it was very cringy. It's not for a 30-year-old to read, let me tell you. But Queen of Hearts by Colleen Oakes, I gave this a 5 out of 5. Highly enjoyed it. It is nothing like Alice in Wonderland at all. Alice is not even included. So we followed Dina. She is the Princess of Hearts, and she's on the way to become Queen of Hearts. Her father, the King of Hearts, is a sadistic monster. He hates Dina with a passion. And then one day, he announces to the whole kingdom that he has an illegitimate daughter, and that he was unfaithful to Dina's mother, his wife, who has mysteriously died. And so her new sister is the Duchess. And so Dina doesn't want nothing to do with her. She keeps calling the Duchess a bastard, and that if the king hears her say that, the king will have Dina's head. And so throughout the whole story, Dina is trying to learn the ways of being a queen to get ready for her coronation. And there's a relationship. And so the 4 suits of cards, the hearts are the royal, the spades are like the guard, the clubs are the jailers and the torturers, and then the diamonds are like the servants or the peasants, I forget. But Dina has a little brother, or an older brother, who is the Mad Hatter, and if he wasn't so mad, he would be next in line to the throne. And so the king has the brother locked away from the peasant, or away from the countryman. But the Mad Hatter, her brother, he keeps making hats for everybody. That's how he makes money. And so, yeah, I really love this. I love the part where Dina sneaks into the Black Towers, which is the jail. It reminded me so much of a different book that I'm like blanking on, but it has one of the highest prisoner. She is like being sucked into the walls with the trees going down into her body, and just it reminded me of a different book. I can't remember. I love this so much that I have already bought the sequel, Blood of Wonderland, and it's going on my July TBR. How many times have I read a great first book in a series, or a first book in a series, and taken my sweet ass time getting to the sequel? No, I need the sequel like right now. I need to read it. But I'm reading this that I was supposed to read in February or March. What's wrong with me? I have no clue. But 5 out of 5, highly recommend it. And her servant is the March Hare. But it's like, you're late, you're late, you're late, you're late, you're late. And I'm just like, I'm loving it. So, yes, 5 out of 5. The next book that I read after Queen of Hearts was a graphic novel, and that is Sisters by Raina Telgemeier. And this is the companion to Smile. This is like a graphic memoir of the author's life. So this one is Sisters. This is about her growing up and her wanting a baby sister or a brother to play with. And so she asked her parents, can we have a little sister? Can I have a little brother? I want somebody to play with. And so her parents have another daughter, and this daughter, she is like so against everything. She's one of the problem child. She's like, no, no, no. And she's got attitude with everybody. And so, despite the flashbacks, the main purpose of this book is the road trip that the mom takes the girls and the little brother on to this family reunion in Colorado. And so they're in this breaking down van. Amara is in the back, Rain is in the middle, and the little brother, I forget his name, I think it's Will, he's in the front. He's called Shotgun. And so Raina, she's listening to her music the entire trip, and during this trip she's having flashbacks. Her and Amara's relationship of fighting and bickering and back and forth, back and forth. I give it a 4. So the road trip was a little boring, but it made me glad that I did not have any younger siblings. I asked once and my mom said no, and that was the end of it. And I have an older brother. His birthday's tomorrow, so Scotty, if you're watching this, happy birthday. Lordy, lordy, look who's 40. Oh, okay, so, and then the parents giving up their room for Raina was... Me and my husband had thought about giving up our room to our 3 kids, but... And I thought at first, why don't you just move? And then I thought to myself, I'm like, why don't you just buy a bigger house? I'm like, oh, we don't got the money. So, it was like a full circle. So, the snake, I freaked out. I wouldn't know. And this, I read this weeks after we had our 2 snakes in the front yard just twirling together, mating, and it was just gross. And so, yes. Ended up giving this a 4. It was a little boring. I liked the implication that the parents had relationship issues because they weren't traveling together and that they didn't kiss each other bye. And that the girls seen it. Like Amara, who's the middle child, she was paying attention to the parents and their body language and their the tension between them. And so, yes, kids see things. And I know that because my kids see things. So, yes. Highly recommend. I can't wait to get to the 3rd one. Actually, no. I don't want to read the 3rd one because it's called Guts. And my oldest daughter, she's read it and she says it's sick. So, do I want to read that one? No, but I'm going to. Okay, the next book I've had on my Goodreads TBR since 2015 when I got really into Goodreads. And I finally read it because I figured that if I don't read it this year, I'm never going to read it. And that is Artichoke's Heart by Suzanne Suplee. And this is about a plus-size girl named Rosemary. And she lives in Tennessee with her parents, so deep south. So she has this judgmental mother and aunt, and it starts off Christmas time. Her mother and aunt get Rosemary a treadmill for Christmas. Also, her mother and aunt are stick thin. They run the local beauty salon in town. And so Rosemary works at the salon and she gets judged by all the old ladies called the... What are they called? All these old ladies in these small towns have a gang name, so... But it's not little old ladies in my town. It's little old men at the BP. Sitting at the tables. They're gossiping roosters. I call them gossiping hens. They're the roosters. They know everybody's business, and if you want to know something, you go to them. But anyways, yeah, so these little old ladies, they know everything and anything. And one day this this oversized, this very overweight lady comes in to get her hair done. And she makes these cookies and sweets. And she always offers Rosemary these sweets. And Rosemary, she's just getting tired of all the judgment and all the bad talk and the bullying. And she goes, I don't want that. And the next day, the woman has a heart attack and is put in the hospital. So this is like Rosemary's journey to losing weight. And as someone who has... had overweight issues since I was 10, and it's not helped since I've had children. This was not a very good book for my mental health. Yeah, she just kept calling herself stupid, and the bullying, it just brought back the bullying that I was subjected to in high school. But I had friends, but it makes it seem like fat people are not supposed to have friends, and that fat people are lazy and stupid, and that really fucked with my mental health big time. So I ended up giving this a 3. I hated the fat insults. It felt like it was talking to me. It felt like I kept getting slapped in the face the whole entire time. Every time there was an insult towards her or that she made an insult to herself, I felt insulted. I felt like she was talking directly to me. And a couple of days after I finished this book, I was so messed up, and those were not a good few days for my mental health. Just if you are having weight problems and it's all you can think about, do not pick this up, because I would not want you to be subjected to more hate. And the author, I was going to put this book down after chapter 3 and just like rail on the author's Twitter against her. Like, why are you a bully towards a fat person? Like, do you really hate fat people this much to write a book to pick on them more? Because in her author photo, she's beautiful, she's thin, and I'm like, why are you writing about a fat person? You're not. It's like a white dude writing about Japanese culture and characters. Jake Kristoff. So yeah, I was pissed. But I don't know how she lived her life. I don't know if she's always been thin, if she had weight issues, I mean, or if she was the bully to a overweight kid in her high school. I don't know, but it fucked with me bad, and I do not recommend this book if at all. I don't even know why I gave it a 3. Another book that I read out loud to my kids is Charlie Hernandez and the League of Shadows by Ryan Calejo. This is about Hispanic mythology, and I had to do some research what the difference is between Mexican mythology and Hispanic mythology. Mexican mythology is Mexico, and then Hispanic mythology is Spain and some Central American. I think if that's wrong, let me know down in the comments and give me a better general idea of the differences between, because I really want to know. But I thought going into this that I was going to get it mixed up with The Stormrunner by J.C. Cervantes, but it's completely different mythology, so that was great. This is about a boy named Charlie Hernandez, and his parents have disappeared. His house has caught on fire, and since his parents have disappeared, the foster system has put him with a little old lady named Mrs. Wilson. And so they put him in the same school district to keep him in the same school year, not to fuck up his grades. And then one day while he's at school, he starts sprouting feathers, and he starts growing horns. And so he is wearing this sparkly jacket. He's getting bullied by the girls' softball team. And then he gets saved by the school newspaper editor, a girl named, what's her name? Violet. And so Violet's wanting to do a story on the disappearance of his parents and what's going on. And she ends up seeing the feathers poking out of his jacket. And so she helps him trying to figure out what's happening to him, why is he sprouting feathers, and then he ends up growing a lobster claw. And so why is he growing all of these animal appendages? And so they go on this quest to this crying woman's shack who wants to trap them. They go into a grave and they talk to a skeleton. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5. I love the mix of the myths and the legendary figures. Especially the guitar guy, La Guitar, something the Guitarra. And it was very great to learn Spanish because it was constantly infusing Spanish words, and my daughter, she's learning Spanish this summer and most of next year for school, and it was a great introduction, and it helped me remember some of the Spanish words that I learned in school, and it taught me some new ones, and it boosted my vocabulary. The next book I'm not going to talk too much about because I've done a whole vlog on this book and it's got spoilers, so yeah. I read this book so you don't have to, and that is My Summer of Love and Misfortune by Lindsay Wong. This is about a girl named Iris. She's a self-centered, narcissistic, materialistic brat. And so she is Chinese American. Her mom's this rich CEO, and her dad is focused on Chinese zodiacs, and he's basically a house husband who loves pedicures and manicures. So her parents are away in Hawaii. She throws this party and she finds her boyfriend cheating on her with her best friend. And the boyfriend is like, you're self-centered, you're narcissistic, you think no one but yourself. I'm like, I got you a birthday present. My birthday was in January and it's June. So her parents end up sending her away to China after she fails senior year. She's not graduating. She thinks she's getting a valedictorian speech. She didn't get into any colleges, her Ivies, and she gets sent to China, and she thinks she's going to her real parents who are Chinese royalty, and yeah, the parents suck. It's just, this book, bad. I ended up giving this a 2 out of 5. Iris is a complete and selfish moron. She's unlikable. So that's why I ended up giving it a 2 instead of a 1, because I understand that she's supposed to be unlikable. She's unlikable. She's horrible. The end was supposed to be her redemption to finally getting into college and getting a job. But it was just handed to her because of who her uncle is. So it's not a redemption. The one thing that made me so mad was that she pretended to be pregnant. And that's one thing I cannot stand. I have 3 children. I had a miscarriage. And I can't stand people pretending to be pregnant. Because it's a real thing. There's people suffering from infertility and miscarriages on a daily basis. But yet the author decided to put a fake pregnancy plot on a stupid character, and then this stupid character, she doesn't even like grasp it, that the fortune teller that she's went to is a fraud. And then Iris goes, if I had half the talent she has, I would be a millionaire tomorrow. And I'm like, So no, bad book, 2 out of 5. But I'm wanting to see what else Lindsay Wong can do from all of this criticism. It has a 2-star Goodreads rating, and that's bad. The last graphic novel that I read this month was Pashmina by Nidhi Chanani, and this is about a little girl. She is trying to figure out why her mom left India so suddenly. She's trying to figure out who her dad is, and so one day this suitcase falls out of the closet, and she opens up the suitcase and she finds this pashmina scarf. So she puts it on, and it instantly transports her to India. And I watched Allie's recent reads that she did in the spring video, and she read this, and she goes that the regular story's in black and white, but the transport to India is in color, like the grass is greener on the other side, and I love that reference, so I'm stealing it. So it has these animal spirits that are guiding her through all of India, and then when she's transported, when she's wearing this pashmina, she keeps seeing this shadow girl, and the animal spirits keep shooing the spirit away, and she keeps asking, who was that? Who was that? Why is she following me? Why does she want to talk to me? And the spirits keep telling her, no, don't worry about it. And so she keeps bugging her mom to send her to India, and her mom is adamant, no, you're not going to India. I'm not going back there ever. And then her mom's sister, her aunt, she's about to have a baby, and so and she needs help, and so her mom decides to send Priyanka to India to help her aunt. And so she gets there and she wants to find out what's about her father. And so her aunt defies her husband and takes her to these places that she's been seeing with this pashmina, and it was very cute. It was a very cute story. Ended up giving it a 3. The art style is beautiful. So I'll show you. Well, here's the regular story, her day to day, and then here is her transported to India. The elephant and the bird, or the peacock. I think it's a peacock. Yeah, it's a peacock. And it's samosa time, and it's just, I love it. I love the vibrant art and colors. So, yeah, ended up giving this a 3. It's a middle grade. Highly enjoyed it. My daughter, she loved it. My daughter is obsessed with India, and so anything Indian she loves, and I think this is her favorite, and she's asking for it for Christmas. So do I recommend that you get it for your kids and that you read it? Yes. Alright, the last book that I've completed this month is Sentinel by Matthew Dunn. This is the second book in the Spycatcher series. As I said with the first book, that I have the 4th book that I won in the Goodreads giveaway win, and that I have it on my Buzzword Reading Challenge TBR for September. It's called Dark Spies. And so to be able to get to that one, because if I don't read it, if I don't pick up the first few books in the series, I'm not going to read that one. And so this is the second book, Sentinel, and I didn't really enjoy the first one because the main character, Will Cochran, he is an arrogant bastard. He thinks he is the most Mr. Untouchable. He thinks nothing can hurt him. He knows what. He goes above his superiors. He wants to go above the heads of states, the rulers of the states and countries, and yeah. So the first book made me irritated, and I said that if I read the second one and I was still irritated, then I wasn't going to continue with the series. I loved this one. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5. This one is set in Russia, and it has a Russian baddie. The first one was set in England and the States, and it had a Iranian baddie. So this one is mostly set in Russia and the Ukraine, and so better than the first. I highly enjoyed it. So this one is called Sentinel. This is about Will Cochran, and he finds out that there was someone before him in this program. There was another Spartan, and the Spartan, he was imprisoned for 6 years and tortured by the Russian Russians, and he was so mad at the West for not coming to save him, for leaving him to be tortured, and he didn't spill anything. And so it's about Sentinel and Will Cochran having to team up to find out why Sentinel's agents are being killed brutally, and they have to stop a war from starting between America and Russia, and why this one person wants a war to inevitably happen. He knows Russia, the baddie. He knows Russia will not win against America, but they will. He knows that Russia will sacrifice all of its countrymen, and then he's planning on a stalemate between the two, and to eventually become hero and be president of Russia. That's his whole plot, but there's more twists and turns. Will Cochran was less arrogant. He did have his arrogant moments, but he was less arrogant, and he was more of a relatable person. He was more real. He fell in love once again, and the woman ends up dying. So that's spoiler, but yeah, he ends up having a fucking hissy fit over. I'm just ready to pick up the third one. The third one is going to be the make or break. If I don't like the third one, then I won't be reading the fourth one, because I'm not going to deal with Will Cochran's arrogant ass. But I have a feeling that he won't be as arrogant in this third one, because he has seen things. He has learned things. He wants to... He's thinking about the things that he can't have, like a family and a wife, and like the future that will be safe. As if for my June wrap up, I didn't read as much, but I'm still in the middle of 2 books. I highly doubt that I'm going to finish City of Heavenly Fire by tomorrow, which is June 30th, but hey, I could get a wild hair up my butt and read this much tonight and then finish it tomorrow. Who knows? But summer school, and then I gotta read aloud this, which I gotta go do right now, and my throat is already hurting from talking so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I need to go burp some more, so I'll see you in my next video. Bye.